I just didn't have enough gems to really want to go any further. And I'm basically, at this point, I'm back in war mode. So I can go back to robbing banks and stuff of that nature in the kingdom. So we'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna do that just so soon, because again I've got a 3-day shield, so I'm not really too jumpy about that. But again, all the power to you guys if you guys have any opinions on the topic. Now, T5 is something that I want to talk about because some people have been asking me about this, which is like, what is a T5 rally trap going to look like? What kind of rally trap composition should I use if I'm going against T5? And what do you think I should do? This is right now the most nuanced thing that I think a lot of people are out to know about. Right? Everybody wants to know what that is going to look like. The thing is, not very many people have had a chance to test it, and the few that have, one example would be Brando. And if you haven't heard of Brando free to play, might as well go check him out. But he recently took a T5 rally, and when we looked at it, right, we seen that his losses were exceedingly high for somebody that countered him, right? Now, as I said before in the last couple of videos, that T4, right, are assumingly going to be 2 times as less strong as a T5 unit, meaning that 375,000 T5 range should be the equivalent of 650 some thousand T4 range. Okay, meaning that a 2,375,000 T5 rally, all T5, okay, assumably then would have the strength of double that, being about 4 million and 700-ish, 750,000 or so T4 units. Meaning that for a T4 trap account to eat a full T5 rally, you would need in excess of 4 million or so T4. But the problem with that logic is that up to a certain point, morale will drop. And it will drop so fast that you're still going to get probably 6, 7, 800,000 wounds. So, with that in mind, I don't think most people are going to get away with a full T5 rally and eat it without taking losses. So, what I propose is the solution then is you're going to have to mitigate it. Meaning, the chances that you're going to be able to get away with getting reds is very unlikely. So now a lot of traps out there that are building up. Okay, I've told you in the past that if you're going to take like a single rally, you've seen me do it before. Okay, all you really need is about 2 million or so T2 and about 1 million T4. The more you have, the better. Because what that will do for you is that if you lose a little bit, you can counter and swap and change and vice versa. Okay, so if you have 3 million of each type, you can swap 3 different phalanxes. If you only have 2 phalanxes, which is recommended for people that are trying to go low might, okay, then you've got 2 phalanxes that you can choose. So you can counter range or you can counter infantry, but if you have to, you can counter cav with cav. Okay, but you will never counter with range. Because if you get hit with range and you defend in range, it will suck. If you defend in range and you get hit by infantry, it will suck. And vice versa. You never ever want to defend in range. Now, this week, I believe Stotrap took a full range hit, and we know all too well what that can do. You'll lose over a couple million T2 that way, and you will be lucky if you don't lose your tier 4 doing it. Alright, so yeah, and you've seen me do it, okay? I took I took like a triple, and that's what happened. Is eventually my front line went down, lost the first mill or 2, and then immediately after I lost another 2 million T4. Okay, so the lesson here is that if you're going to do rally trapping in any capacity, you need to be really weary of this, okay? Because the main thing that's important when you're defending is not the gear so much, but it's actually this portion here. If you do not pay attention to what phalanx you are in, and if it's, say you're in range phalanx, and somebody sends imp, it's going to hurt like hell. If you're going to be in cav, somebody's sending range, it's going to hurt like hell. And you get, I mean, basically, you don't want to be in that. That's the first thing you check before you ever random, before you ever put on war gear, before you do anything else. Because if you don't do it correctly, and you know you're not in gear, that's okay. You know, like if you're able to swap out to phalanx and say they sent range, it's not going to be as bad. If you're in war gear, it's even better, but if you're not in war gear, it won't be as bad as if you'd been in, say, cav phalanx, you know, and vice versa, alright? But still, my point is, right, if you are going to be building a T5 rally trap in any capacity, and this is just me speculating, I think the way you're going to have to do it is you're going to have to prepare to get T5 at some point. And I think a lot of mildly small accounts could probably mitigate by just building like 5 to a mil T5, because again, that's going to double the amount of strength that you have in those tier 4 units, and you're mitigating it by putting in 1 million or so. So if I had put like 1 million T5 across, all right, that should do 3 times better. So basically what I'm speculating here is, this is Alpha Smurf's template guide. And if you don't know Alpha Smurf, you can check him out, look him up, because he had this guide out temporarily, but using his, you know, his strength values, right? All I did is I took 9.189, assumably if everything is 2 times as strong, right? And you can see here it's like 5.209 times 2, and it's nearly 10, right? 2.83, it's almost 5. 1, almost 2. Okay, and so forth. Alright, but the thing is, if, let's assume, right, that 9.189 doubled up is 18.378. I'm sure it's going to vary. It's probably not quite right. Okay, but the strength of that is 43,647,750 T1 units. A full T5 rally, right? If I had even 1 million guards, that is about half the strength. Meaning, to actually cap a full T5 rally, you need 4,750,000, right? Because you can see the math checks out. If that's correct, that doesn't mean, right? That's just the bare minimum to even it out. Okay, that means that you might need like 5.5 million, you know, just a little bit extra just to oversway it, right? But you can see that's 171 total might. Okay, that means that like basically every trap account ever will not be able to take a full T5 rally without being oblivious to the might drop. Like I don't think it's avoidable. Okay, but even still, right? If you do take a T5 rally, you're gonna need a lot of beds, a lot of T2. Because I was looking at this, right, and to give you an idea, approximately how strong would you need? Okay. Look at this, 12 millions, only 34, so we're not even close yet. So it's probably closer to like 16, almost 17 million T2. Just to counter it, yeah, just to counter it, 17 million. Okay, no one in their right mind's gonna build that many T2, but we've seen what Brando did, right? Which Brando, he was doing like, I think it was around 5 mil, all right? I'm gonna assume that these ratios here were all 0, okay? You can see here, I was playing with the idea too of, well, what if I use T3 to try and mitigate this, right? But let's say, you know, you did 5 million. Okay. Let's say that was your ideal situation. Of course, if you want to look at this template guide and stuff like that, you want to use it. Just pull up your Google spreadsheets and put in these values in manually, and you'll essentially have the same thing that I'm using here, but again, it takes a little bit of work. But the main thing here, okay, is that assuming that this is even remotely correct, right? I think the only problematic thing, and this is going to require testing, and I'm more than happy to try and simulate this, you know, all I want. I can guess and guess and guess all day long. But what I'm going to be focusing on here, and this is what I'm projecting, if I, you know, do what Brando did, right? Brando did like 5 million or so. And then his actual numbers here, I think, were a lot closer to, well, I'll check this out. Hang on. Okay, so I went ahead and I looked at his video. Hopefully he doesn't mind, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to take a look and see what was sent. So, again, this is what he had. This is what was sent. All right. The main thing here is that you can see he's got about 1.3 to 1.5 million or so. But let's just say, you know, with an honest guess, like 1.3 million. And he's got about 5 million, but he's more like 4.5-ish in that area, right? But even before that, right, you could see he was like 4.5 pretty much, plus the other two. So he was basically 5 million or so T2 across. He had a little bit of T3 in there, not a lot. And then a couple million T4. The rally consisted of, you know, 1 million or so guards and then about 1 million or so fighters. So it wasn't even a full T5 rally, so to speak. Okay, but looking at that and having that in mind, okay, what that tells me, okay, is that 1 million T5, right from the get-go, we're getting about 18 million strength out of it. His composition was about 1.3 million T4, which is about 11 million strength. And then you tack on that with 14 million on top of that. So he's about 25, 26 million, right? And then you could add the 300k that he had here. Okay, and you're probably, you know, and that's really honestly, like, probably not even close. If anything, it was like 100k, 200k tops, which was only about 1 million. Okay. But looking at it from that perspective, he had about 26 million strength. This rally that was sent at him, okay, there was about 1 million or so T4, you know, in this particular rally. So there's 9 million plus 18 million. Okay. And you can kind of see why now that's starting to make sense, right? Because all you need to do now, okay, is just take, you know, here, we'll just do equals, take this plus this. Okay, again, I know they're two different compositions, but that's 27 million total strength versus somebody that only had, you know, in this particular situation, give or take, with a little bit of extra leniency, right? Like, basically this kind of composition. Well, here, actually, we need to, before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, like, we'll just take this number here and let's just do 3.0 to be more accurate. There we go. Plus that amount. Okay, give or take, he had 27. You know, so for the rally itself, okay, he was about on par. He was probably pretty damn close to on par. But even on par, okay, with 1 million T5, with 5 million T2, and a little bit of T3, and 1.3 million or so across, he still lost in excess of over about 800,000 troops, even in counter. Okay, this is why I say that when we look at it from these numbers, and we look at it, you know, purely from this perspective, even though you can match the strength, that doesn't mean you're necessarily quite right. You'll probably need a little extra on top of that. Okay? Which is why I say that for this particular situation, and this is really, I think, something that, you know, if we look at, like, prior to lots of other T5 rallies that we've seen, okay, just 1 million or so of these is pretty strong as it is, okay? But I would speculate that if a person's doing 5 million T2 across and 1.3 million, right, the only other way you could have probably mitigated that just a little is if we put in, say, 2 million, right? 2 million is about the same strength in guards, okay? 2 million is going to have the same amount of strength as the T5 that's sent, and then the only thing they have on you is that 9 mil, but you're getting 14 million from the T2, and so it'll work out in that situation. Like, if he had about 1 million or so T4, he probably would have actually done that a little better. But again, 1 million T4 is not an easy feat to accomplish, because again, that's 72 million more, you know, from 46 to 72. Okay, that's a 30 mil might increase that you probably don't want to have on your account when you're trying to rally trap. But again, you know, this is something to think about, because again, even if we're trying to break even, that really does kind of give you an idea of just kind of like what we're working with here as far as T5 rally compositions are going to go. So I would speculate that, you know, if I were to put 1 million T5 in my account and then did 2 million, right? So I'm just speculating here, but this is for like a full T5. We're probably not going to see full T5 rallies for a long time. I hope. Okay, but assuming that I had 1 million or so guards, and I converted 1 million of my tier 4, right? I'm looking at 18 plus 9, which again, you know, if you don't know how much that is, again, all this is taking that plus that. It's exactly the same. And there's 43 to 27 there. I've got to make up another 14, which again, if we take this and we add that on top, okay, and this is 5 million 2-2, we're still not close. Okay, we haven't even broken even yet. So we would have to make up somehow another million, probably T5. And at that point, you can see how quickly that changed. Now we're way above. So if you have 2 million, you can eat T5 rallies because you've essentially eaten, you know, exactly the same. Like if you have the exact amount with a little bit of T4 and a lot of T2, that's going to do great. And I mean, really, if you think about it, right, 60 million as opposed to like somebody that sends a full T4 rally. So like if they had sent, you know, 2,375,000, of course that's not going to hold up all the time. That does vary, but you know, 21 million strength compared to 60 million. Can you imagine what a T5 trap could do to a march like that? I would imagine the wounds on somebody that has that kind of strength compared to this would be pretty tiny. Like it actually wouldn't be as bad. That's why I think if you look at it for T5 trapping purposes, though, okay, that's 96 million strength for 2 million T5, like T5. Okay, if I was to put 85 million more on top of that, that's just that much more. But assuming I was to do that, okay, you're still dealing with numbers here that seem a little on the high side. And like I said, I think you could probably do 1.5, and you're at 27 million, which puts you at 51. You're still high enough, okay? But now you're doing 72 and 72. So as opposed to doing, you know, now you're at 140 million or 144 million in troop might from the T5s. And then if you did an additional million, then you're 36 times 2. Now you're, you know, like 60 something. Like again, this is where I think you're gonna be somewhere between 5 to 600 billion might if you do this the way I think you're gonna do it. At least this is what I speculated T5 trap will look like. Again, you know, I could be inaccurate here. I could be very inaccurate, but you know, I'm giving you the best guess that I have here as to what that could look like. All right, but I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that that's gonna cost you approximately. So I'll pull up my calculator here real quick. 36 million might. Whoops. Screw me, I just like screwed that up. I know you're not gonna see this, but times 2, 72 million might. And we're gonna tack that on times 2, and we'll add 72 million on top of that. Yeah, okay. Oh, whoops. yeah, well that would be 216 million, and then counting the T2 is 40 million twice. So yeah, that's at least 300 million troop might just to eat a T5 rally, full T5 of course. So you're at 300 million troop might, approximately 296 million total, and that's just in 2 unit types, and that's no troops, assuming that you had no troops for your middleman, which to be honest with you, most people are probably not going to do, which means that you're going to add another 40 million, and then another 36 million, and another 72 million, which puts you at 444 million. Okay, and that's yeah, that's a lot of might. 444 million troop might, not counting core might. Okay, that's what a T5 trap will have in troop might if they were to try and counter a full T5, in theory. And that's with 1.5 million across T5, 1 million T4 across, and then 5 million T2 across. Okay, but realistically speaking, the bare minimum I think you can get away with here would be to do 1 million T5. That's going to put you at 41 million. And then you have yourself, again, making sure I'm not incorrectly calculating that. Yeah, that's 41,932,000. So you'll need to add probably another million or so drakes. That's going to put you at 51 million. So if you had 1 million guards, 2 million T4 across, and then 5 million T2 across, that'll do about the same. Again, same principle, but the only difference is instead of building another million or so T4, you just build 500,000 T5. Again, I think it'll vary depending on what kind of build you want to do and how much might you want to get away with. But that is pretty much the build that I think somebody will end up probably coming up with. This is me speculating though, so don't try this unless you just want to. Because again, I could be wrong. I could be off by a couple million. I could be off by... There's so many different variables here that I don't know and haven't been able to test that I have really no idea. But what I can tell you is just from the facts of what we've already got. Thanks to Brando and thanks to a lot of people adding on top of it. That's what you can expect.